Sanding, shaping, and fitting the wallboards is a task that allows for thinking. Thinking about the next project. Thinking about all the little details. What is this thing? How will it be used? What do you want it to do? Then, when the day is done, refine your thoughts. Get them down on paper. And get to work. We're at it again. So these are the... My goodness, is that what I look like? You can tell it's getting close to Saturday's bath day. Hang on a second. What I'm gonna do, I just switched the monitor around. You have to look at me, but I don't have to look at me. Okay, that's much better. Now I can look at the lens. These are the frames, the undercarriages for my running boards on the side of the van here. Yes, I developed these myself out of 80/20. Now, I could have bought regular manufactured floorboards. There are plenty of companies that make them. What's wrong with them? There's nothing wrong with them. I wanted to make my own. What's the fun in ordering something and bolting it in? So I made my own. There are a few things I like about this rack that I don't like about the store-bought racks. The first and foremost is most of those racks are shaped like a J. The support brackets are shaped like a J, so they take up a lot of your ground clearance. They rob you of ground clearance. This is very sleek. Right now, the lowest point of this rack is at the same ground clearance level as the bottom of the fuel tank. If that ground clearance is good enough for the fuel tank, it's good enough for my running boards. So that's where this is. The bottom of these frame members are no lower than the fuel tank. Most of those racks use an existing hole in the van, or you have to make a hole, and then they pinch and screw into this little pinch fold weld thing. I don't know what you call that seam at the bottom. They drill through there, and then it's up on top. So basically, the attachment points are close together, and there's not a lot of leverage between them. And that's a lot of torque. The whole rack is torqued in this one little area right here. This bolt is going to go into the pre-existing hole in the van. This is going to come right up to that seam lip and tighten down. But when you carry that load back, you are sharing the torque, okay? Right now, the floorboards are out here. You step out here, there's down pressure here, and this torque is it's shared because I've got this triangle back here. So I've taken a lot of stress off these main connections by having this piece here. This gets mounted above, it's actually behind the step on the slider, and this is for the passenger door. This goes under the slider, and then there's a big frame member on the van, and then we put this one in under the passenger door. However, the floorboards are going to be one continuous all the way from the back of the front tire on the passenger side to the end of the slider. One continuous floorboard, and it's going to be made up of a multitude of 80/20 1-inchers. You know how nice this is going to look? And then you put your little rubber non-skid in the top of every one. I had to order a specific toggle to get in through that existing hole. It's a 3/4 inch pre-existing hole. There's 4 of them running down the line. So I got a special toggle that can take the weight, and that's what these things are going to do. All of these are going to attach at that toggle point This comes up against the front of that lip to prevent any of that slide work. And then this gets mounted above with a couple of screws. It should be rock solid. And then I've left myself 10 inches of step. I've got a 10-inch deep step. I've noticed a lot of the vans that I've had experience with, that step coming out the side isn't deep enough. And what you got to do is you got to learn to sidestep out of it. You got to turn your foot sideways and get out. It's doable. I've been doing it for years. But I want to see what it's like with a nice deep 10-inch step. The other nice thing about the way this is designed is if you're traveling down the road, you can lash things to this step outside. A beach umbrella, a tent in a bag. You can lash stuff to here. It's a cargo rack while you're driving. The other thing I did is I made sure that this entire running board does not stick out as far as the mirror. I gave you 1.5 inches in from the outermost point of the mirror. So if you're driving, you always have your mirrors as reference. If your mirror is going to clear it, this is going to clear it because I'm 1.5 inches shy of the mirror. So, lashing. Now in here, once this thing's mounted under there, you've got this massive triangular space that goes front to back. It's 8 feet. It's 8 feet long. Now, I don't have a black tank, but I'm certainly not going to put one in just so I have a place to carry my sewer hose. But that would be an option back here, is if you did put this in a van with a black tank, you could put your sewer hose, you could store it right in back here, and you'd be able to pull it out right at the back wheel of the van. That's one option. Another option that I'm going to experiment with, you know, I used to carry a nice rug with me. I loved putting a nice rug out in front of the sliding door with a couple of chairs on it. And when I was ready to leave, I'd roll up the rug and I would strap it with a bungee behind my couch in the back of the van. One of my viewers says, that's a really nice idea, George, but you do know that unless you shake the shit out of that rug, you're bringing bugs in the van. And I just went, she's right. Bugs. I'm bringing it right by my head because the way I got that thing slung in by the couch when I put the bed down for night, the bugs are right there. I don't think they'd come near me though, to be honest with you. But anyway, that was the end of the rug for me. I've never carried that rug again since she made that comment. But this would be a nice place to put that rug. Roll it up nice and tight. That's where you should store a rug when you're traveling outside the van. So here's an unresolved question, an unresolved decision that needs to be made. If you notice, up front here, I have a taper on the ends of this floorboard system. And what I did is I matched the angle of the door with that taper, such that if you're getting in and out, you're not gonna have a gully to fall down with your ankle. I might even minimize it even more. So when you step out, you've got a full step. The other thing is there's one more support strut that goes here. It has to be custom. No, the whole thing is a custom job, right? But this has to be further customized because there are some chassis frame members under here that my system won't work with. So I have to make one special bracket for here. And on the other side, I might have an issue because of the furnace, the S-bar furnace that came with the van. There's actually a second S-bar furnace under there for supplemental heat in the cabin. But here's the unresolved decision. I'm tapered here like that, okay, away. And because they're all the same length right now, that causes the rear to taper out that way. I'm not so sure I like that. So the options, where'd I go? Let me use this. The options back here would be to cut it straight across and have it end like that, or give this a taper also, the opposite taper of what's up front. Very Art Deco, you might say. Look at this. This is really sweet. Very slick. So I certainly have room to do whatever I want to do because your step is right here. Got a little bit of overlap. So that's the decision. What the heck was that? I'd be interested to see what you guys think. What would you think? It's hard to visualize, I know, but I'll do some close-ups for you to look at. Straight across back here. Right now, as you see, it's tapered out like this because they're all 8-footers. So of course it'll taper like that. You can cut straight across or taper it back in. I'm inclined to say taper it back in. That could look pretty cool. You know what else I want to do? Let me get a, what do I have that's an example of a lashing? Hang on a second. I have, yeah, I'm using this as a stand-in. This is my, this is a full windshield cover for my Pleasureway. It was given to me by the new owner of Womp. But I'm using it here because if you remember my cargo rack above the cabin area here, well, in front of that, I left room because what I want to do is I want to have a little pocket for this to sit in up there. Very easy deployment. It's not getting in the way of any of the cargo that would be on that rack. It's in front of that, but it doesn't block your access to those cubbies up there. I have it working in my van just with Velcro straps. So you just pull the Velcro down, drop it, and put it in. I want something a little more elegant in this van. But the point I'm bringing this out for is once this is in, this is dry fit now. It's not connected. It's just for visual purposes at this time. But yeah, a tent, a screen room, an awning, poles, I don't know. I mean, if you really wanted to get fancy, I could put some nice brackets up here and you could stand some chairs and lash them. But I don't see any danger, I don't see any issues with this because you are inside of your mirrors. So that's what I would do. I would be using this to lash. I actually thought about putting an 8-foot rack like this on the other side instead of the short one. It's something I could do. We could pick it up. There's some stuff over there that gets in my way, some of the furnace items. So it would be much easier if I just did a driver's step or no step, because I noticed in my van, I don't use anything but the chassis step. Once I get to that first step down, boom, I'm out of the van. Same thing coming back in from the tarmac right up to the first step. And you know, I don't have a big inseam, so it's not hard for me. It should be hard for you.